of the Heifer River Garden. I promise I'm not going to take very long, but many of you have said, what is Strolling of the Heifers? What is Strolling? Before we get to that, I'd like you to all open your program, and I want to see how observant you are. So I apologize for that. That was picked up at the last minute. Our graphic designer messed up, but I just wanted to see if you're alert enough to see that. All right, anyway, so we're going to tell you what the Strolling of the Heifers in exactly 2 minutes. Jim?
At the Strolling of the Heifers, we believe the best way to directly impact the growth of the food and agriculture economy is to invest in the local communities, businesses, and farms and support them. Located at the Gibson River Garden in downtown Brattleboro, our 9,000 square foot innovation center hosts community gatherings, meetings, lectures, concerts, and programs year-round, including our world-famous Strolling of the Heifers weekend, including a block party, musical parade of lovable heifer calves, and a 11-acre slow living expo, farmer's breakfast, local farm tour, and the Tour de Heifer bicycle tour, one of Vermont's most challenging dirt road rides. How committed is your state to healthy local food? Our annual Local Board Index rates all 50 states and stimulates discussion across the country on increasing local food consumption. A Slow Living Summit, a 2-day annual summit that provides entrepreneurs with tools, resources, and mentorship to start and grow their conscious food and agriculture business. A farm-to-table apprenticeship. Our ongoing training program teaches culinary skills to veterans and underemployed community members, placing them in full-time, permanent positions at local restaurants and institutional kitchens. Wyndham Grows. Our 6-month farm and food business hatchery provides the mentorship, resources, and support entrepreneurs need to take their business to the next level. Whether we're celebrating farmers and food producers, placing underemployed community members in meaningful jobs, or investing in emerging entrepreneurs, the Strolling of the Heifers is committed to strengthening the farm and food economy and the local communities, businesses, and farms that support it. Help us carry out our mission by making a tax-deductible donation at strollingoftheheifers.com/donate.
That's good.
So that was in 2 minutes what is Strolling.
Thank you.
Anyway, the food you ate was plated and prepared by our farm-based apprenticeship program. We have an amazing teacher, Tristan Cellino, who's a wonderful caterer, as well as he's a representative at the State House. Wyndham Grows, the road pitch could not happen. Number one, if it wasn't for Karen Cross, and we're very lucky that Karen is also an entrepreneur in residence in Wyndham Groves, and the other important person is Jim Brazino. We couldn't have that without Jim. So I'd like to introduce you to Jim Brazino.
Thanks. Don't need to spend much time. Wyndham Groves, Farm Food Business Accelerator, totally rocks. Talk to me or Karen more later if you want to talk about it. But I do want to have a couple of our co-sponsors and partners here. Probably just say a few words. Adam, where's Adam? From BDCC, Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation.
Thanks, Jim. Hi, welcome. I'm really happy to be here today to hear the pitches. I want to thank the riders for the time coming out today. You know, such a critical component of any economy is churn and startups, and the folks that are here today risking it all, hats off to them, applaud you for your effort. My colleague R.T. Brown has been doing a lot of work with Jim in preparing for today, so on behalf of R.T., good luck to all the pitches today, and thank you for being here.
All right, thank you. Another really key sponsor, both financially and actively, and helping work with us is KeyBank. So, Andy Rich from KeyBank is going to say a couple of quick words.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Richardson from KeyBank. I manage the branch right up the street, and we've been a sponsor of Road Pitch for, I believe, the last 4 years. And I'm really excited for the pitchers here in Brattleboro this year. I was actually a trainer and able to really understand a lot more about the pitchers this year, and that was a very fun experience for me, and I'm really excited for what you guys get to hear today. Really, at KeyBank, we believe that small business is the core of what we do and providing for our local economy, and I think the road pitch really embodies that quite a bit. And another thing about KeyBank is we, for qualified business owners, are offering $5,000 for you to switch over to KeyBank right now. And if you want any more information on that, you can see anybody in a KeyBank polo, like Eric Barbick back there, myself, or Ryan Butler, who's riding with everybody. So really excited to get the pitches, and good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks. So just FYI, all the sponsors that we have here are not only gave financially to help with this, but also helped us pitch coaches. So Andrew was a pitch coach, and now Raymond, also a pitch coach, Raymond runs a lot.
Okay, Raymond runs a while, Vermont Community Limited, thank you. I'm the Director of Business Programs, Business and Early Care and Learning Programs at the Lowell Fund. So you've probably all heard the saying, give someone a fish and they'll eat for a day, teach someone to fish and they'll eat for a lifetime. But perhaps more importantly, everyone needs access to the water where the fish live. And that's really what this is all about, access. The Vermont Community Loan Fund has promoted access to capital for over 30 years. Access to capital that we combine with business advice and assistance to help capital be more productive. Access is what's great about the road pitch. It gives entrepreneurs throughout the state access to experienced investors who provide the critical early stage capital that helps businesses grow and thrive. And we are very proud. We at the Loan Fund are very proud to sponsor this stop on the road pitch and to help increase access between entrepreneurs and investors. So thanks to Orly, to Jim, and RT for hosting the stop, and the Karn, and the rest of the riders, and most of all of the entrepreneurs you're about to meet who have the vision and courage and the dedication to get out there and pitch it. Thanks so much.
All right, so I've got a little surprise for Raymond right now. So I'm going to be introducing Reed Shin from Big Picture Beef in just a moment. After that, he's very much like Oprah Winfrey, you know, smart, passionate, etc. So what I'd love Raymond to do is grab a program and help me to introduce people, because I'll be working the computer.
You bet.
So we got an amazing group of 5 companies here, and just as an FYI, every company that you're going to see here today has an existing producing business, making revenue with employees. So we've got an incredibly impressive group here, and it's very exciting. So we're going to start with Rich Shin from. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Karn Cross, Fresh Tracks Capital. He's all right, you know.
Yeah.
This has become this running joke, essentially. One of these days you're not going to clap at all. Who knows what's going to happen at that point. So I'm Karn Cross. I'm the co-founder, managing director of Fresh Tracks Capital, and I am the founder of Road Pitch, which is a 4-day motorcycle event that goes around Vermont. We stop in 8 towns and do something like this, have a pitch session. We award a $500 prize for the winner. We have a Holstein Teddy Bear, which we're calling Harley Holstein, which is back there, I think, on display. That the winner gets that. And most of all, the winner gets a free entry into the Road Pitch Finals in October at Champlain College. So at that point, you have a chance to, the winner has a chance to compete for a $5,000 prize. We could not offer, we give away about $10,000 in prizes over the course of road pitch, including the finals. And we couldn't do that without a bunch of statewide sponsors. The state of Vermont Department of Economic Development has been a sponsor. I'm not sure if anybody, Brett was here, right? They've been instrumental in helping us out. The Key Bank has been a sponsor, as Andrew said, for a number of years. This year we have Ryan, who's one of the Key Bank branch managers, and Eric. Ryan's been actually riding with us, and Eric's been driving this poor little Corolla. It floated away on Route 30 and went away now. And so they've been a sponsor for 4 years. Dinsey, which is a law firm in Burlington, the Bolton Law Group, also a law firm in Burlington, Gallagher, Flynn and Company. They have, you're it, right? Phil left? Phil bailed out. Steve Trenholm from Gallagher, Flynn. Emboldia, which is a statewide speaker series. I think the closest one that they have to here is in Manchester, so you'd have to travel to Manchester to see an Emboldia speaker series. Vermont Teddy Bear, which gives us all the teddy bears, and the Champlain Maker Fair, where we hold a pitch event also. Did I miss anybody, you guys? You've heard this like, you guys have all heard this like 8 times, so did I miss a sponsor? No? Good. Oh, Social Center. Jesus, yeah, I miss our portfolio company, Social Center. All right, thank you. Where's Andrew? Andrew didn't call me out on Bites. See, he was sleeping.
He was drying his clothes in the bathroom stall.
So Bites is a website. So our website, the Road Pitch website, is built by Bites.co, which is a website development company in Markington. So the rules of the pitch event, 7 minutes. You guys are doing timekeeping, right? So they know that. And then I will facilitate the Q&A after, and we ask that just the riders ask the questions so we can kind of run through their process and pick a winner. Speak into the microphone because otherwise.
No, I was going to say, I have a mic for people to ask questions.
Good. Excellent.
So they can be heard. Perfect.
Jim.
All right, so we've got, as we said, 5 great presenters today. We're going to start off with Rich Shin from Big Picture Beef. So let's hear it for Rich.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start that, Jim? Don't count my minutes yet. So I'm pleased that you guys made the effort to come. I know you're all a little bit wet, but I'm going to introduce you to our company, Big Picture Beef. We raise grass-fed beef here in the Northeast, and this is our business, cattle to meat to market. So grass-fed beef, we found the genetics that work well on grass. We learned how to do the grass. We know how to make fat, tasty grass-fed beef. We know how to process it, get it in the bag, and get it to market. We aggregate from about 75 small farmers. So you guys have been riding through the countryside, and you've seen this. This is the evidence of a formerly robust rural economy, but it's in decline. It's in steep decline. Desperate farmers. Agrimark, the dairy co-op, in February sent a letter to their farmers with the milk check with names of suicide prevention counselors. Farmers committing suicide at a higher rate than combat veterans coming back from the war. It's a terrible problem. The desperation. Our ask is $500,000. Big Picture Beef can throw a lifeline to the rural economy and help fix this. I'm going to show you how. So there's lots of underused land. We can take that land that's covered in goldenrod. You've seen that on your ride all over New York, Maine, Vermont, and turn it into vibrant, enriched soil again by grazing the cattle. This is the grass-fed beef story. So beef in the U.S. is a $100 billion market. Grass-fed beef is 4%, $4 billion. Of that 4%, $3 billion comes from elsewhere. Uruguay and Australia. $1 billion comes from the USA. We have a big problem because you can bring a container load of beef from Uruguay, bring it to Massachusetts, cut it up, process it, and you can write on it, product USA. Very hard for the customer to sort that out. One of our big problems. But that said, Forbes said that this market is going to grow to 30% of the national market in 10 years. That was 2 years ago when they said it. So we're looking at a $30 billion opportunity. How does the Northeast play? In the Northeast, that's our region, there's about 600,000 beef calves born every year. Not dairy, just beef. The vast majority of those, over 90%, get aggregated by the local cattle dealers and go west to the feedlots. Then the meat, of course, comes back to the market. So we think it's a big loss of jobs, nutrients, and money. Grass-fed beef, on the other hand, solves all the problems of the feedlot in terms of health of the meat, animal welfare, worn-out soils, putting carbon back in the soil. So beef is vilified as the problem with climate. Grass-fed beef is the solution to climate. This is our model. So we have all these small farms, 15, 20 head, and at a year of age, instead of having them go west to the feedlot, we aggregate them to large herds of 300 or 400. This is one of our finishing farms in Cornwall, Vermont. This is the farmer, Mark and Cheryl. What we do is move the cattle 3 or 4 times a day with an electric fence. It's kind of like the buffalo moving across the prairie, and that allows us to get the cattle fat efficiently on a grass-only diet. The corollary is that it sequesters carbon. These people have measured their organic matter 12.5%, which is really outrageous, and it occurred from just grazing cattle. Here's our team. Here's me. I've been at this for a number of years and know a lot about the genetics and the grass. Jerry Shin's our CFO. He's built a number of companies, and he actually, interestingly, started as a dairy farmer. And Craig is our meat guy. He's been in the meat business for 40 years, so he brings vast experience, access to markets. These are our diversified markets that we're working in. So we're selling the whole carcasses to stores like River Valley Market in Northampton. They cut it up, put it in a butcher case. We're selling packaged hamburger to colleges, and like the Big Y chain has 70 stores. We sell to all 70 stores every week. We sell primals, chunks of meat to the butcher shops in New York City, and we also sell whole finished animals to other companies. This is our sales projection. This year we're flirting with $2 million, next year 5, the next year 2020 in the $8 million range. This market is vast, and we have all the tools, we just need some money. So this is our investment opportunity. We're looking for $500,000 investment. It will be an equity investment, preferred membership units paid out of the cash distributions from the operations. So 75% of the distributions will go to the original investors, and they'll retain a 25% stake in the company. These are all the real specifics, the nitty-gritty. We can go back to this slide, spend some time on it if anybody's interested. But the reality is what we're trying to do, raise this money for, is to expand the business and really address these 2 audiences. So we have 2 target audiences. One is farmers. So we want to go out and recruit more farmers, those dairy farmers that are looking for a lifeline, finishing farms. We can show them how to make money. We've done it. This is one of my farmers from about 8 years ago. But we also, another huge job is to educate the customers, because the customers really need to know about this local story, the fact that the dollars stay in the Northeast. If we raise the cattle in the Northeast, process them and sell them in the Northeast, it's much better for human health and humane. And then the story, putting down carbon, fixing the water cycle on a landscape scale. Our tagline is beef with no regrets. So there you have it, the big picture. All right, let's go. John, you want to go first?
One of the bugaboos with grass-fed beef has always been that there's not enough fat marbling, which affects the taste and affects the tenderness of the meat. And I know you made a reference to something about having done something with the genetics of the animals. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Great question. That is the biggest problem with grass-fed beef, is that it's not very good, most of it. It's an intermittent experience at best. So you just take cattle, take away the grain, and harvest them. But what we've found is that you can fatten them on grass, and we've done tests. We've sent our samples to Clemson University, and what they do is they take 2 steaks, they precipitate all the fats out, they measure the fats, and she was shocked. She came back and said, out of the 8 samples, you have 6 that are choice 1 prime and 1 select on a grass-only diet. But then she can go down the list of fats, and she can look at the ratio of the omega-6 to the omega-3 fats and see that they didn't need any grain. So it's entirely possible. It's not easy. You need a system like this to make it happen.
Paul, did you have a question? You had your hand
It
up.
was the same question.
Same question, all right.
Great question.
Aaron.
So I just want to say that I know Richard does have a lot of experience with genetics and also has a lot of experience with cattle. And a lot of people aren't. So grass-fed doesn't turn out good. But what are you going to do if you have the genetics? How are you going to scale up and have various farmers raising the right genetics? And how are you going to have various people finishing those same cattle?
Good question. So what we found in the years of learning about genetics, we used an ultrasound machine to go around farms and measure the fat and the tenderness in live cattle. We found that most of the cows in the Northeast are pretty good, mainly because they're in a herd of 15, 20 head. Nobody does heroic measures. They need a cesarean section, they die. So they're pretty functional cattle. They need a bull. So one bull, not the bull in the picture, but one just like him, bred 6,000 cows. So we use semen to breed a whole bunch of cattle. So we can ramp up that, that quality. And there's many people that have adopted our genetics already, but it does take that. And then the key to the finishing, and one of the reasons that we bring them to a finishing farm, is that if you have 20 head of cattle, you've got another job. You're not raising cattle for a living. Therefore, you go teach school or you sell tractors, you do something else. So you cannot move the cattle 4 times a day, which is what it needs to get fat. So we aggregate them in big groups, and then we can move that herd like the buffalo. And we can afford to pay the labor for 300 or 400 head.
I'm going to do Jack and move over to Eric.
You explain a little bit, but recruiting, could you explain a little bit how you recruit your farmers and how you're going to aggregate the land so that you can move the cattle the way that you want to?
Yeah, no, good questions. So I've been at this for a while, so I know a lot of farmers, and we've got this business up and going, and we haven't actively started recruiting. We just put the word out that we want farmers. The phone is ringing off the hook. Farmers are desperate. They tried the farmers market. It's really not a very good model to try and raise a few head and go every Saturday and sell them. So they're looking for this. And we say, well, you can play if you use the right genetics, you do these things the way we say. In terms of the farms, there's lots of farmland available. We have a place in New York. Someday we'll own land, but we can put together 5,000 contiguous acres near south of Lake George for about $1,000 an acre. The land is available. The land in the Northeast is pretty available. We don't have the resources to even begin to think about that. So we're working with, so we have a couple finishing farms that are 2,000 acres down in New York State. We have 900 acres here, and we have another 600 acres in Maine. So those are possible.
Eric, you're next.
You did not want to give it to me.
I just wanted to be sure I was following Cody's directions.
So how do the farmers make money? Are you buying the land or renting it? Or?
No. The land is, we're really not involved in the land. What they do is they make money with 2 transactions. They either sell us their calves at a year of age for about 15-20% above the market, or they can retain ownership. So one of the things we do is if you're a cow-calf producer with 20 head, you can give them to us, we'll raise them. When we put the animal on the hook, you get the full value minus the grazing costs.
But you need their land. The whole point to this whole entire thing is you need lots of land so they can keep moving and eating grass, right?
No, so here's what's fascinating is out west, it takes about 15, 20 acres to support a cow. Here in New England, it takes 1 acre to support a cow. So if we have 800 acres, we have a tremendous capacity for animals. So there's all these dairy farms. These dairy farms are my target. So they've amassed 1,000 to 2,000 acres before they go out of business. They've been planting corn. So we can go in and say, still drive your tractor, but plant a cocktail cover crop, which is 8 different species of grasses. We'll come in and graze it, and we can graze in that transition period and get gains like the feedlots out west.
But they're grazing their cattle. You're not bringing
No,
cattle.
we're bringing our cattle onto their land. We're bringing our feeder cattle onto.
So how do they make money again?
By the custom grazing, by the gain. So in other words, we pay on the gain of the cattle.
I give up.
Well, if you've got your farmer's got 100 acres, a couple other acres, but the grass needs work.
Right.
Are you advising them or are you investing in them?
No, we're advising them. What we've found is that the cattle are a phenomenal healer. So, I took a farm in Massachusetts that was in corn for 25 years, sprayed with all the poisons. We planted grass, we started grazing. By year 3, we had grass 4 feet tall. That first picture was that farm. So we've increased the fertility, we've increased the biomass almost 3-fold in a short period of time, 3 or 4 years.
Keith, so when you get the land so when the land becomes fertile to that extent, then what happens? Do you just continue to graze cattle on that, or does the farmer go back to other crops? Or
well, you could every 4th year go and plant corn. You would need no fertilizer, no pesticides, no herbicides, because you'd have all that fertility. You could cycle back. But what happens now, you see all that land that's planted to corn is essentially dead. It's all down the Connecticut River Valley. When it rains, it all goes into the river. So we could stabilize all of that by this methodology.
2 questions. First, there's a reason why they ship the cattle out west and put them on feedlots. They bring them from 600 to 1,200 pounds very, very quickly. Can you replicate that same sort of growth rate with grass? Second, you mentioned that a lot of the grass-fed beef is being imported from Uruguay and marketed under made in America. If you are selling through channels which don't carry big picture beef on the label, how do you differentiate yourself and still be on premium?
Well, we differentiate ourselves by the label. It's hard right now because they can say product to USA, even though it's from Australia.
I understand, but what you're saying is that you're selling whole carcass or prime to various other people who are selling as grass-fed beef.
Right. Well, we're selling it, we're building our brand to tell that story.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Hillary. Hi, thanks for coming out. I'm the owner of Watertown Farms. My farm is on my family complex, which is another dairy farm that's been renovated for businesses and offices right outside of Brattleboro. I took 1 acre and 1 building off of our campus and I turned it into Bordertown Farm last year. Oops, sorry. Bordertown is a hemp farm. Our product is CBD oil. This is our first year. We just planted our first crop this past spring and we're going to harvest it this fall. We're looking for $200,000 to purchase the equipment to process our hemp, the distillation and extraction, so that we can take our hemp at our site, process it right there, and have our CBD oil. So what is CBD? I would think you all probably know what this is. If not, let me tell you. CBD is from the industrial hemp plant. It's a cannabis plant, but it's the hemp side. It only has 0.3% THC in it. You cannot get high from it. It doesn't have the psychotropic effects, like its cousin, which we don't know about. So that's what we're doing. We're growing the hemp, we're growing the CBD oil to come out of the hemp. This is a list of things that you may be experiencing as you sit. So mostly it's inflammation, an anti-inflammatory, the CBD. Plus it has some other compounds to it. But what it will do is start to get that blood to circulate, which helps with things like headaches, migraines. There's been different studies on this. And so I take it. I'm a Pilates studio owner, and I also teach it, along with my other stuff. And I take it for my aches and pains, and I take it for sleeping, anxiety. And I have my customers also do it, and they love it as well. So this is my mom, Sandy. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 5 years ago. There's been a lot of studies for chronic diseases using CBD for the benefits that it can reap. So for things like epilepsy or Parkinson's or dementia and fibromyalgia, of course I'm interested in Alzheimer's, but there's some great benefits with that compound. And as a matter of fact, the FDA just approved a drug for epilepsy for children to reduce their seizures, and they're using the CBD compound, which means that the government now sees it, which means hopefully more research, which is good for all of us. Okay, so the CBD market is booming because it's cool, it's new, it's all kind of, we don't know what's going on. But it's $2.1 billion consumer market in the next 2 years is what they figure. If you take a gallon of CBD extract, the actual pure extract, and you mix it with some sort of oil, usually it's a coconut oil, you can make about 2,200 little bottles. You may have seen them in little droppers. Those run for about $100 a piece. So you could, theoretically, if you sold them all, make $200,000 out of 2,000 bottles out of 1 gallon. This is the problem for us. The processing. There are a couple processors in Vermont that'll process your hemp for you. They charge anywhere between $300 and $600 to process 1 pound of organic hemp. Then you translate that into an acre, and all of a sudden it's $450,000 to $950,000 to process my 1 acre of hemp, which is a lot. What did I say? $900,000 to start with my startup. The other option is they'll take 50% of your product, so you can still have them process it, and they keep 50%. Which is why we want our own processing system in our farm, so we can go from seed to shelf. We can go from growing it, harvesting it, processing it, bottling it, and taking it out to the consumer, which helps us control the product, and at the same time, our costs are lower, which we then can push off onto the consumer, and so they'll love us. Besides, it'll be a really great product. So our consumers are people who like organic, maybe alternatives to big pharma. Perhaps some of you here with knees and back issues as you're riding your motorcycles, it would be helpful, I suggest, go to Hemp Curing if you can, if it's open, get your CBD. We're going to just market it the regular way. We'll go on internet presence. We're going to go to stores, farmers markets. I also want to focus a little bit on Pilates and yoga studios because I understand that world, and also I think those are our customers, to do some direct sales, to sort of get a sense of what they want, especially if we do some sort of product development. So this is my team. Jared's my team, he's my partner. He has 20 years, over 20 years experience in cannabis cultivation. My experience is managing, I've been managing this farm facility that I now have my barn on. I also put the farm on as a partner because it's my family farm. We can do what we need to do on there, we can expand, and it also, so we can expand to whatever we need to do, and we can also be super flexible with it. So Bordertown, what can we do that's different from everybody else? First of all, we bring $1 million infrastructure to our project. This is our farm. We have 4 buildings, we have 37 certified organic acres we can spread out on. I'm just doing 1 acre right now. Our big barn has a 3rd floor that we've earmarked for an indoor grow in the next couple of years. We have greenhouses, we have a spring water, all the water we want. We're able to be flexible in this economy and also in this business that's new. The problem with this business is no one really knows what's happening. So the people I think who are going to really succeed are the ones who can, dance around a little bit. We can do things, we can help farmers process, they can come to us. We can make CBD, we can give it to people who want to infuse their maple products. So we're ready and we're poised and we're excited. I'm excited because of the prospect of helping people like my mom, and also I think it's a great crop and it's a great, great opportunity, and it's young and new like the Wild West. So thank you very much. I'm going to ask Jared, my partner, to come up and help with the questions.
All right, we're going to start with Steve first, and then go to somebody else had their hand up here, Scott, then we're going to go there.
Great presentation, timely, very timely product. Question for you though, are you part of the Vermont Department of Agriculture through the National Farm Act because of the fact that if you're not part of that, there's a big question as to whether the 0.3 matters and it's still considered to be a controlled substance. I'm an accountant, so That's why I know all about this. So that would be my question. And if you are, then you probably should put that in your presentation so people know that you're somewhat covered.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Well, we are on the hemp registry. We're on the hemp registry that the state of Vermont established to set up farms in the state for the purpose of growing industrial hemp.
Okay, so they monitor you. So
no testing is required by the state. No testing at this point is required.
They do, as part of that program.
If you go to sell the product, it does need to be tested, but that's after it's been processed. But the plants themselves are not required to be tested.
Scott, you have a mic? Yeah, so the way you're describing this, is it, and I'm make sure I understand it, it has, let's say, the positive medical aspects of marijuana, but without, well, somewhat like the fun part. I mean, is that kind of what this really is? It has the medical benefits, but you don't get high from it, basically.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
There's a little bit of THC, but you don't get high from it.
Eric.
I'll start loud. So I think this is a crux to the business, is the organic aspect of it, so quality, and it's also a selfish question. I bought a bottle at the e-cig store, and I'm up to like 8 drops, and it just makes me sleep good. My back still hurts the next day. How important is quality? Is that?
Well, there's the, what they call the entourage effect, and some of that, the whole plant is what we're looking to do. It's called full spectrum of the plant. Some, I don't know what you bought, but some of it is not a full spectrum. You don't get the full medical value without using the entire plant. And THC is part of that.
Paul, and then
So, in a number of the presentations, pitches we've seen, so often it seems it's what I'll call bootstrap marketing, and I think that's really a big weakness. From what I can tell, you don't have anybody on your team that is really a sales marketing oriented person, because I think that's critical. You can grow the greatest product, it can be organic and wonderful, but if you don't really have that sales driver, then you have a problem. So how do you plan on addressing that?
You're right. But what we figured is we just started, and I'm just so excited our hemp is growing. It's just fabulous. So once we harvest, we're startup. We are the epitome of startup. So I'm hoping it grows and it's beautiful and we process, and then you're right, we will be adding on. We'll be adding on.
This is your opportunity to get in the ground floor.
So James is next, so we'll go over to Jeff.
I'm curious why you want to give up equity if all you need is the equipment and you don't just finance it. And if you're at the beginning of this industry, are you thinking, you said you would process for others, are you thinking in other terms about how you could become a locus or a center of industry for this new industry?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good point. We'd like to see the farm become a mecca for other hemp products, maybe if the paper maker or cloth maker. So the whole entire farm could be used for that. But what was the question?
Oh, funding. Finance.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Well, you know what? We'll be happy to talk about that individually. We haven't really thought too far ahead about that.
And also, we couldn't get funding because it's not legal over the whole state. So we can't go to USDA and get a grant, we can go to the bank. And Andrew will open up a bank account for us. I mean, we're just out here. We're trying to put together. It's going to go. It's going to blow. It's blowing. I'm just saying. This is it's blowing. But it'll change. But that's the joy of our place because we can change. We can do. We have to stay there.
Jack, this question is related to the previous one. Have you thought about maybe getting about 10 other farmers who are as excited as you are about hemp, having them dedicate an acre, and then basically funding yourself buying the processing machine and cooperative program?
Sure, there aren't that many at this point. There aren't that many southern Vermont farms that are growing hemp.
Now, so people are funny about it. People want to talk about their hemp fields. Most of them have their own little pockets, which is legal, but they're in their pockets. That's what we have. But,
Susan?
Is your plan to grow year-round using the inside the farm, or what's the, how many days for farms mature?
Well, as the prohibition laws evolve, it may become possible to have a higher content of THC in a CBD extract, and at that point we could go to indoor growing year-round. But that's as yet we haven't expanded that far.
Other, Aaron?
If it's an unregulated market right now, I mean, you know, finished quality-wise, how are you going to differentiate yourself quality-wise?
We are certified organic. Not many of the ones at the startups already have that certification. We are one of the few that we've been certified organic for over 20 years. It takes a number of years to get that certification. So we can differentiate ourselves through quality by having an organic product, and if we had the equipment to do our own extraction, we could have our own recipe for our product instead of relying on what we get back from the processor.
We got time for one more really quick one if anybody has a quick question.
You're stuck with a lot of regulations that are against you right now, which I think is a barrier to your business model. Have you considered growing other crops in the interim until that can pass?
What barriers are you referring to?
Federal regulations?
There are no federal regulations on CBD.
Okay.
You can sell it.
It's legal in all 50 states. However, there are still 20 states in the country that growing hemp is still illegal, still prohibited.
We're out of time.
Okay.
I'm Dee Dee Cummings, the founder of Green Writers Press, giving voice to writers and artists who will make the world a better place. This is one of our authors, Irene Sky River, our first Native American author, whose memoir is entitled Paddling with Spirits. Oh, sorry, wrong way. We're located right here in Brattleboro, Vermont, and we're attracting a lot of young workers to the area, editors, proofreaders, and such. And we're also partnering with Champlain College, one of our sponsors here, and Bennington College to offer college internships, which is really exciting as well. We are a global press with national and international distribution, spreading a message of hope and renewal through the words and images we publish. And we are growing. We are asking for $100,000 for funding for expansion to catalyze our growth, especially in author publishing partnerships, which I will tell you about. So, question. How many of you, writers, judges, and audience, how many of you have thought about writing a memoir? Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah. You have. And you know, it's great because there are something like, here the percentages here, 81% of Americans, according to the New York Times, feel like they have a book in them. My mother is almost 90 and she's got a book in her, I'm helping her. But 96 of those manuscripts, they don't even find an agent. So there's a lot of interest, and books are still in vogue, from the Gutenberg Bible to the present day. So Green Writers Press is here to help people get into that marketplace. However, it's kind of difficult. The old publishing model has the big 5 publishers in New York City, like Random House. You need an agent to get your foot in the door, and as you know, it's really hard to find an agent. And then if you do get published there, you get an advance, but you have to earn out that advance before you can start earning royalties. And often you're left, you know, alone, unless they usually pick a few books that they love and they offer more publicity than others. They sort of pick favorites that they think they can win back their investment. And sometimes the authors feel somewhat left out. They have to pay also for marketing and publicity. They have to pay for their own book tour. In the old days, that was all paid for. But our model is sustainable. We print our books in the United States, not in China, like so many of the big publishers do. A lot of our books are printed right here in Vermont, and they're printed on recycled paper. And we split our costs 50-50. The author puts up 50% in capital, and we put in 50% in our sweat equity. And also paying for the printing, that goes 50-50. Now this model is really exciting because we see a lot of growth in these author publishing partnerships. Now our team, I've got like 35 years of experience. I came from one of the big 5 publishers, Little Brown and Company, moved to Brattleboro in 1986, raised my kids here, but I worked in the big house before I came. And I started Green Writers Press in 2014. I figured, I know how to do this. And Rose Alexander Leach, age 29, moved here to work with us. She's completely booked solid. She's a wonderful editor. Ben Tanzer out in Chicago is a creative strategist who's really helping us break into the national market. So our business model, projected growth the first year we published around, we had 9 books, then we grew to 15, 12, and 17, 20. This year we published 35 books. We expect next year to do about 40. I don't want to grow too quickly. So as you know, the author puts in 50% the cost of printing. It's really helpful because I'm trying to run a very lean organization in terms of capital. We paid off our $60,000 loan fully. We have no debt. So the author also pays Rose and other freelancers in the area out of pocket. So that is really helpful. And if it's your dream memoir, right, you're willing to put up some of your own money for this, especially to have a book that looks like a trade book. The product is beautiful. So we also have this other author publishing partnership. This is an area of expansion. $4,950 comes in on top of that printing investment. So this is really helpful for us to grow. The authors are really happy to work with us. We just signed 5 more last weekend in Rochester, Vermont at a writing retreat. So we see a lot of growth for this area. Now, the 100,000 will help us grow. We really need staffing to handle this expansion. You know, and I am really set up to delegate, especially in the areas of marketing and publicity. Our distributor in New York City is really helpful for the national marketing support. So this gives you an idea, 3,000 copies sold, and we're doing very well. The author's cost of goods sold includes that author 5,000 contribution. Midpoint is the distributor in New York. Now the small publisher is where we are, and very, very important. It's growing in the market. People really like the small presses. This is a success story for us, the full Vermontie. Welcome to Vermontlandia. So this book has sold through almost 2,000 copies, or net sales around 20,000. Governor Cunin has signed her memoir with us. Advanced sales are very strong. A wonderful glaciologist, Dr. Jackson. She's a TED Global Fellow. She signed with us for her second book. Vermont author, this little children's book has sold 2,000 copies, doing very well. And we're starting to win awards. Maine author, we're breaking into the Maine market, which is very lucrative and wonderful. Sherman's in Maine, written out in that area. Sherman's Bookstore. Jim Kershell, the Maine Literary Award. Oh, thank you.
John first.
Jim, to the mic.
What differentiates what you do from a vanity press?
Okay, this is a very, very good question. I'm gonna get my mic. So the term vanity press, I'm so glad you asked that because I often get asked that at writers' conferences and such. And I feel that the term vanity press is antiquated. More frequently we hear the term hybrid press nowadays. And a vanity press is when a publisher everything is paid for by an author to publish their work. Everything. You know, so that, like we're putting in design, the cover has to be fantastic to sell books. So I invest around $1,500 into the cover design. Design of the interior pages. Our books look like New York publishing books. I have a few samples on the table as well as catalogs and business cards. And you know, our materials have to look very professional. A vanity press, everything is paid for by the author, and often they will get a royalty back of, say, upwards of 80%. Does that answer your question? Good, let me make sure.
Aaron, and then we'll go to Terry.
I understand that the writers are paying 50%. I wasn't clear on what the demand is for the books that you're publishing.
Our books our last 10 months have been full profit months, and the demand is growing. We have a very good reputation in the business, and the demand is books, and we also do ebooks and audiobooks. We're starting to branch out more. We have an author podcast that we're going to be launching in about a week. And the demand is growing because our sales are growing and our reputation is growing. Articles about us and the founding of the press and everything have been in Publishers Weekly a few times, and so we're getting some national coverage. And the demand is that people love books. Everyone loves to read. I mean, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's a classic, right? And so demand is always there in the market. Publishing, there's always that breakout book that you want that will sell 100,000. And we need some investment to really help us push out more and increase our sales and visibility. Because we're still right here in Brattleboro.
So Terry, you got the mic.
Yeah. I would assume you do some things like a normal publisher. You must screen books.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Then you edit books.
Yes.
And then you do some promotion.
Yes, we do. Exactly.
So you do all three of those.
Mm-hmm.
And how many do you screen, roughly right now, how many of you screen to get to the number that you've taken on?
Okay, so there are a couple of ways to answer that. We use a program called Submittable, which allows us to take submissions from unknown authors. Submittable. It's pretty great software. And everyone can vote, and we can comment and talk to each other as a company. We also have outside readers, and we have these interns from Champlain and from Bennington. Out of those, we have 400 books currently on Submittable. So we've signed just two of Submittable. That's one area. And then the other screening that we do is I haven't taken all of the authors from the writing conference I mentioned in Rochester, Vermont. Last weekend, there were 6 authors presenting, and 5 of them want to sign with us, and they're all wonderful. They've already been screened by the writing conference. It's like a contest, sort of like road pitch, actually. So we screen there, and I really rely on my gut. I mean, I've been in publishing for so long, and I meet with a potential author. We have lunch or coffee and tea. We talk on the phone extensively, and I really get to know them. And you can really tell a lot about someone, because we can't have someone who just says, you should do all the work for me, I'm a prima donna. We need to partner with the authors. And it has to be collaborative. So they have to be someone who will, they might need to have their title changed or their cover design.
So how you got the mic, then we'll go to Jack down here.
Yes, I have a question. Do you have a specific targeted goal of how many books you want to publish? Is it like an end game?
Yeah.
Do you want to sell the company? If somebody gives you $100,000, what's in it for them? Is that debt? Is that equity?
Definitely equity. We don't have any investors at this time. We had one friend of mine give me $10,000, which was great, but I look at this as a return on the investment. I don't know if I can offer 20%, but certainly a return on that investment. And I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Well, do you have specific goals? Certainly, to get a decent return, you've got to have a certain volume.
Yes. Okay, so when I started the company in 2014, my son, who's now 33, and he's really into marketing and interaction design and all this good stuff. He lives in Brooklyn, and he said to me, Mom, what kind of company do you want to be? Who do you want to be like? And right away I said Gray Wolf Press or Tin House Press. Because we also have a literary magazine called The Hopper that's growing like crazy. And Tin House has both the book side and the literary magazine side. And they're what they call a mid-sized press with about 100 titles a year. So we're in that small press, mid-size, when you saw that chart, the 40%, I mean, we're definitely in there. And, our sales are strong. And the reason I'm really looking forward to expansion is our distributor in New York. Honestly, the first 3 years, they kind of ignored us. But now that we're making money, guess what? They're stepping up and they really want to partner with us. We did the Book Expo at the Javits Center in New York. We also are very proud to be sponsors of the Brattleboro Literary Festival. We were just at Bookstock last weekend in Woodstock, Vermont. So we're really starting to see the support from Midpoint, our distributor, and our readers. They're buying our books. There are so many bookstores in Vermont. We do a lot of business right here in Vermont. I have this new thing, I think Orly's going to love this, called local lore instead of local lore. So the idea of storytelling and getting our voices heard. And I love holding the book. My son just reads on a Kindle. It's great. We sell a lot of books and ebooks on Amazon. Amazon is one of our largest accounts.
Jack's going to be really quick, really quick answer.
Okay, I just have one question about your deals with the author putting up a lot of money and stuff like that. Does any of that money come back as say it sells, if the book sells? Do the authors recoup any of the costs?
Yes, now, there are two models here. There's the newer author publishing partnership where the author puts up $49.50, okay? But then we have the general acquisitions where the author pays half of printing and they pay editorial, and they don't put up any money. We have two sides of the coin. But this new author publishing partnership, these are not books that we have acquired in the editorial sense, but they're good and their voices need to be heard, and then we make them better. So you understand that we have two models? Right. And like, for example, with Governor Cunin, she's not paying for anything. Because for me, it's strategic because she's a big name, and so, I'm doing some of that. Irene Sky River, she didn't have the money. And one thing I'd like to do eventually is have a scholarship and work with. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, next up, Kevin Parada, then Utopia.
How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Thank you for braving the rain. I don't know if I would have done that, but thank you. I'm Kevin Parada. I'm the CEO of Utopia. We're a platform for unique wedding and event locations. If you're wondering what that is, you're in one right now. A year ago, my wife and I set out to get married, and we're introduced to the wonderful wedding industrial complex, and spent about 2 months trying to find a location. Unsuccessfully, so much so that we almost called off the whole wedding. We ended up eloping. It was such a bad experience. But we're still happy. So wherein lies the problem is that the wedding industry is one of the last industries to provide transparency to the consumer. If you want to know the price of a wedding venue, good luck. If you want to know if it's available, good luck. They want to get you in there, and they know once they got you, it's an emotional sale. They're going to get a hold of you and make you get married when they have, when it's available for you. There's also, no customer service. So we have competition in the sense that, sure, there's places you can find venues online. Try talking to somebody or getting non-biased advice. It's not going to happen. Even if we can't find you one of our venues, we're going to help you find a venue. That's really one of our underlying goals as well. The solution, of course, is in Utopia. We save time by providing transparency, pricing transparency, available dates, right? You probably know you want to get married someday. Might not work another day, right? That's important. You can't go on a trip and not know the dates. We have dedicated venue reps, which is the first in the industry to provide. Has anyone here ever heard of Lowell, online travel agency in Boston, Farmers Kayak? So they're using AI and good old-fashioned people to actually talk to people, right? Has anyone here ever had a bad stay in like an Airbnb? I mean, consistent? Wouldn't that stink if you had an inconsistent wedding, like it was just bad? So we want to control that experience for people by having trained reps. Now you can either go out and we can train you to be a venue rep, or you can be completely out of it. It's your choice. So in a nutshell, what we offer couples, unique venues. The market has grown 20% in the last year. Again, you're in a unique venue. The Lodges Theater would be a unique venue. Brattleboro Museum of Art would be a unique venue. 49% of weddings happen 200 miles outside of cities. So it's a phenomenal opportunity to get a lot for a lot less. Competitive advantage, we have 24-hour customer service. Right, if something goes wrong on your wedding day or the night before, you want to be able to talk to someone that's going to deal with it. We have shorter wait times. We're introducing venues into the market that haven't previously been there. We call them non-venue venues. They're not in the business of weddings. We have established relationships. I've been in the film and video business for 20 years. A lot of these venues came from my experience driving around, being privileged enough to drive around New England and find these beautiful locations. A lot of these farms were on their last leg and looking for a way to bring in income. We were able to bring in income to these farms by providing locations that people all over New England, New York were looking for. We have training for venue owners, which again, nobody else is offering. On-demand labor. Everyone heard Uber? No? Okay. It's this little company. So that's how companies scale with on-demand labor, is that we'll be able to provide planners if you want that. Only 25% of people actually use a wedding planner. We are a venue management company. We can connect you with a wedding planner if that's what you want, who handles the creative aspects, is going to be there for you, hold your hand while you cry, both the couple's crying and all that emotional stuff. We just want your money. No, I'm just kidding. We partner with rural towns. This is very important too to what we do. We're not looking to build individual venues. We're looking to strengthen communities, to make them partners in what we do. So for Brattleboro, for example, it's going to be one of our test markets. We're going to create a marketing video to showcase that and send that out to the world so people can know, like people from Hartford, Springfield, Boston. We have great venues here. We have great caterers. We have, great vendors, and you can get it for a fraction of the price. You can make an event out of it. It can be a 2 or 3 day event with your friends and your family and loved ones, and that's where the market's going. Types of venues real quick, I'll get back to this, but we're not just about farms. I really want to communicate that. We have a lot of options for people that you might not think of. So here's a look at the unique venue market. $6 billion is the unique venue US market. The New England market size is about $234 million. Does anyone know how we make money? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. We charge the couple a small management fee, help them coordinate the logistics. We do this because it gets them more involved. They feel like they have something to lose if they're not participating as much. We charge a 30% commission, and this is why. We do everything. You can't get that with Airbnb. You can't get that with any of your competitors. Again, you can't have an inconsistent wedding. So we control that experience. We train our people so that we're building a brand. Financial projections based off that 1650 is our annual transaction. Okay, the average venue does 140 weddings a year. 140. So we're just looking to do 10. We have 40 venues now, we're adding 5 more. That's our goal. It works by we attract onboard couples, we coordinate the vendors for the events, we collect money, owners keep 70%. It's a really good deal. You have a new income stream that you wouldn't have had. And again, we eliminate it. It's a turnkey operation if that's what you want. We get and grow with these fine organizations. They help us, they're part of our sales team. Digital marketing, of course, is huge. We're launching a web show on unique locations that we've been pitching to different companies that I've worked with. We reach out to wedding coordinators. We grow by offering experiences, anything from an alfresco dinner like this. We want to get to the $12 billion honeymoon so we can use that relationship. Artificial intelligence, of course, AI is going to be huge for what we do to automate things. We keep with our venue managers, turnkey management, and training. Competitive analysis, we can go back to this in Q&A. The customer acquisition cost is $200, venue acquisition cost of $500. A cash on hand, we have $300,000 rate, burn rate of $6,500 a month, which is very low. So this is our team real quick. I've been in sales and marketing for 20 years, full stack developer, and UX designer.
Just right at time. Right at time? Yeah. We're good. Our other Rigo, you want to go first?
Thank you. Your business model is for sure interesting, and you got inspired by Airbnb. Now the question to you is this: if your venture take off, what's prevent Airbnb to replace you guys?
So that's part of our exit strategy. We would love to be acquired by someone like Airbnb. It's too hard of a pivot for them.
They don't want to acquire you. They want to steal your business.
It's too hard of a pivot for them. So we're on higher transaction, we're higher touch, and their average, I think, is $50 to $100 their average transaction. So we're a lot higher than that, and we offer something that they can't. They couldn't pivot this far if they wanted to.
Eric?
So I love this market. Absolutely fantastic. Where are you guys now to date? I know you said 300,000 you had in the bank. Where'd that come from? How long have you been doing it? How many customers do you have?
I personally put up $100,000 of my own money, and we got a convertible seat for 18 months for the $200,000. I built, I'm not a developer, but I built this in WordPress. I went to a business accelerator program in Springfield, Massachusetts, Valley Venture Ventures, and I actually met my other partners there who were able to fill in the technical pieces. So we rebuilt the entire platform, which we're launching in a week, with React, which is what you see in like Snapchat, very expandable programming language.
So any sales to date?
No sales today in the traditional sense of weddings. We are still booking a lot of locations for film.
Okay.
Jack?
Could you talk a little more about the difference between your business and a wedding planner?
Yeah, sure. I would love to talk about that. So 99% of people get confused with what a wedding planner does and what a vendor representative does. Wedding vendor takes care of the logistics. So we help coordinate either if it's a tent or the caterer, where they're going to set up, that kind of thing. Whereas a wedding planner is with you through that creative aspect. It's just really not that scalable of helping you pick out the flowers, helping you possibly pick out the dress, bridesmaid colors, and it goes on and on depending on how involved you want that wedding planner to go. They're also commission based on the wedding. So if your wedding's $50,000, they're charging you 15% of that, which is standard.
Keith, would you work with families for other types of events like anniversary parties, bar mitzvahs, retirement parties?
No, absolutely. The wellness market, we have our eye on, has grown 300% in the last year for venues like this. It's going the same way. Nobody wants to get hitched at the Hilton anymore. They want a unique venue, a unique experience. We provide them a blank canvas for them to do that in, tell their story.
Neville and then James.
Do your venues grant you exclusivity, i.e. what's the point of the wedding planner going and circumventing you next time around?
They can, but we provide, so one of our competitive advantages is the amount of service we provide. When we were going through the accelerator program, we went through and we had to do 100 interviews. So everyone we talked to said, can you do this full service, to a point, from a vendor representative standpoint. Nobody else is doing that. So 99% of our current vendors, they have day jobs. They would love additional revenue as passive income, as we all would. But it's different than having someone stay in your house for a night and then someone having a wedding there. There's logistics to coordinate, brides, couples to deal with, questions.
James.
I like the model of providing unique places for people, but in other industries, the word venue means different things, like nightclubs. And so I wonder if you drill further into the identity crafting aspect of the business. And I was curious, if you got 45 venues and 10 weddings per, and you're managing the reputation of those venues with your clients, do you have staff on site? How do you ensure that they have a good experience when they're introduced to that venue and having a wedding there?
So we've kind of formed partnerships with realtors, which has been a goldmine as their commissions have gone down. We've really, we have realtors on our advisory board that have helped us, that are going to help show these properties. So it's also an additional revenue stream for realtors without interfering with the day-to-day actions. That seems to be a really good fit for us.
Other questions? Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming and for the opportunity to show you the sprung chair today and riding down here in the rain. Really appreciate it. So I'm Darren Mark. I invented the sprung chair, invented it right here in Brattleboro, patented, and I'll tell you a little bit about the Kickstarter campaign. Sold 150 chairs in 10 days and healed one retired Marine. So why did I invent the sprung chair? Really grew out of personal need. I would sneeze and my back would go out. I would do a home improvement project. My wife would say, do you want me to schedule the chiropractor appointment for you now? So what I found was I felt better when I moved around, when I moved from my hips and pelvis. So I came up with the idea for the sprung chair and discovered that there's this concept called active sitting. You're all sitting now, you've been sitting for a while. Gravity is pressing down in one direction. So when you start fidgeting, you start moving around because you're uncomfortable. The sprung chair enables you to move around while you're sitting. So the traction on Kickstarter, like I said, 150 chairs sold in 10 days, raised over $70,000, and the early adopter reviews have been fantastic, 4- and 5-star ratings. Even more gratifying, so I knew I healed my own back. And then you send out this piece of furniture, people aren't accustomed to calling you up afterwards and saying, hey, I really love that bureau you sold me, it changed how I organize my stuff. But, oh, where did I'm in the wrong order, whoops. I'll get back to that. Remind me about the Marine. So the Kickstarter part was Facebook ads. We had 10.43% click-through on this ad, and it cost us about $52 to sell a chair. So how do you sell a chair to a bunch of people on a crowdsourcing platform that don't have the opportunity to sit in it? You make a video.
How does moving make you feel? When you move, you feel joyful and alive. Moving improves your mood and your focus. When you're in motion, you just feel good. But the sad truth is, most of us are stuck in chairs that keep us from moving. How many hours a week do you sit? 50? 60? Sitting that long doesn't feel good. It hurts your back, crushes your mood, and shortens your life. The sprung chair improves on even the best ergonomic office chair because it frees your spine from being stuck in the same position all day. The contoured seat moves with you, adjusting as you shift your weight from side to side. Change your center of gravity, and the seat tilts, opening up your hips to the ideal sitting angle, naturally encouraging good posture. And because the seat is held onto the wall by bungee cords, you never feel like you're going to fall off, unlike sitting on an exercise ball. The bungees give you active resistance, encouraging you to move as you sit. The back is fully articulated, so you get lumbar support when you need it, where you need it. Push against it, and give yourself a back massage. It's so well balanced, you can even lift your feet off the floor and do little crunches while you work.
It's kind of cool. You can lean forward, adjust the back, and you're in a totally different position that just makes you that more comfortable.
What's amazing is that you don't talk alone.
It pulls you back as opposed to wall that you just slide off of.
It's so comfortable. I thought it might be too shuffly. Fidgety, but it's not at all. I could probably work on this all day.
No way.
You could like do little crunches.
No way. I like it. I like it a lot.
So, out of all the backers, here's a slide I thought was coming earlier. I got an email recently from Jack Kim, retired Chief Warrant Officer from 20-year Marine, and you know, it just blew me away because, you know, I thought I had a good idea, but to get that kind of response was just so affirming for the product. Great validation. So the cost breakdown, cost of goods right now is $132. Average sale is $396. So my margin is 67%. And cost for customer acquisition has been averaging 10%. So my phase 2 plan is seeking $50,000 to fund marketing and ramp up customer service, fulfillment, and inventory. With the plan of selling $192,000 worth of chairs with $19,000 marketing spend. So my phase 2, here's my prototype. You guys are some of the first people to see the phase 2 prototype. And we'll be seeking an additional $50,000 for phase 2. I really want to get the retail cost down to $199 and make the chair much more market acceptable, make it look more like a regular chair, and start wholesale distribution to sell retail in stores. So the reality check, how many people know someone who not necessarily sits in a chair like that, but has one tucked in a corner of the office not sitting in it, right? And some cool stats that my wife found for me. Americans spend $50 billion each year on back pain, or I guess healing back pain. And 1 out of every 2 working Americans admit to having back pain symptoms every year. So competition, sit, stand desks, the exercise ball, which is a bad solution, that ball in a frame chair, and there are other active sitting chairs that offer some movement. Some are very expensive. They don't offer the bungee cord resistance or stimulate the kind of movement that the Strong chair does. Like I said, got the patent, very exciting. The team, in addition to myself, Alan Hedge, ergonomics guru, Andrew Brooks, who founded Furniture.com, and a bunch of other local folks. And that's it, thank you very much. Oh, and what did I say the other day? Sitting is believing. So please come try the Sprung chair afterwards.
Susan.
Have you thought about hooking up with chiropractors and people like that that are working with people that have back issues and getting that into their practice?
You're like a mind reader.
Tell me about it.
I actually, one of the slides that I deleted was my go-to-market strategy, and I actually would really like to put a chiropractor program together where they can retail the chairs out of their office, but really where they work with patients over the course of several sessions to see how they're sitting, how they're progressing on the chair. Especially for folks that have less back stability. What I found on the website is, there's a range of people I sell the chair to, and sometimes they require a little bit more direct feedback from me on how to sit and how to set up the chair to heal. Other folks are just like, oh, cool chair.
But a little video, right?
So you implied this at the end, but can you tell us a little more? The best results in the world aren't going to sell it if it looks weird. Right now it looks weird, but you said one thing you want to do is make it look more attractive and different. So can you tell us more about that?
I think you just answered your question.
Well, what are the plans? What do you do?
So the plans are, early on I talked myself out of the idea of putting it on a 5-star base and having wheels and it working more like I don't know why I talked myself out. In hindsight, I wish I hadn't. But the reality is it works just as well. It has more features and it just still, can use further refinement. But, I like how the original Sprung chair looks, but it definitely isn't like, oh, that's a chair, I get it. So that's, the first prototype or the second version of the first prototype for the new chair. Okay.
Is it realistic to cut your cost of goods sold from $264 per chair to $33? It's a pretty big jump.
Cost of goods, $132 currently.
Oh, good. Okay, is it realistic to cut it from 132 to 33?
Right now, we're making it completely locally, the ball and the bungee cords, like a few components I sourced from overseas, but Baltic birch plywood, which, you know, I'm really good at sourcing it, so I can get it for like $35 a sheet for 18 millimeter, but still by the time you CNC it and you finish it and you round corner it. And right now we're hand making the underlayment for the seat platform. So with a mold and tooling, and you know, and we're also just buying foam. So just the seat itself costs over $20 by the time we're all is said and done. So if we have a mold and tooling, the cost of the seat goes down to like $2.
Hey man. So I have an office with about 18 people working there, mostly millennials. And they all, well, 60 to 70% of them want standing desks. So we invested in standing desks. And I would say maybe 2 of them actually stand at their standing desks. And the rest sit on extra tall chairs. So how do you assure me that, or how do you assure an investor that this is not a passing fad, the standing desk and the active sitting thing?
Now, so how old are millennials?
They're born between 1980 and 1995.
Okay. How many people in the audience were born between 1980 and 1995? Like a quarter. So, first of all, there's like lots of boomers, lots of, you know, middle-aged people like myself. I work in an office with 30 people, and we are not, you know, we spent $100,000 on steel case stuff. So we're not about to get rid of everything. You know, one gal has a sit-to-stand, like, rise-up platform. She used it the first week. And Alan Hedge, who I mentioned, who's the Cornell ergonomics advisor, and he actually runs the like International Ergonomics Forum every year. And I didn't mention this, but Cornell, he invited me to Cornell, and his graduate class did a study of the chair. So it's been a great relationship. He's written about how standing, chairs were introduced into the workplace because standing doesn't really work for most people. Also, standing passively isn't that much better than sitting passively, you know, so they have all these like little wobble boards and things like that. Yeah, but depending on what you do, like if you're a graphic designer or you like really need to focus, all that movement isn't necessarily appropriate. So I don't think the chair is going away anytime soon. And like I said, sitting is believing, so I think when you sit in the sprung chair, I think it'll be sort of an aha moment, because you'll be mad at your chair. You'll be like, why haven't you supported me the way the sprung chair could?
You're up,
Heidi.
I'm over here. You know, it reminds me of an exercise ball, and my exercise ball runs out of air sometimes, and I have to maintain it. I wonder how durable this piece of rubber, because I'm presuming that's what it's made of, is going to be, and what kind of maintenance the end consumer is going to have to do. Are they going to have to pump up their chair?
What I've found is there's an initial stretch with most exercise balls. So you have to maybe pump it up after a few weeks. And if the valve is seated properly, like I maybe top off my chair like once every 6 months, once a year. So there is a little bit of maintenance. And one of the things I like about the Phase 3 prototype is with the gas lift, it's height adjustable. So if you lose a little bit of height, you can just raise up the chair using the riser.
Go to Paul.
So, I don't know if you're aware, I'm assuming you are.
This is
one of the
last question.
presenters is Core 360, which you listed as one of the competitors.
Yep, Turner.
Why are you better?
I don't want to say better, but I think the Core chair, the Core 360, I've sat in the Core 360. Personally, I found it uncomfortable. And Turner and I talked about that. It's really different. So one of the key features, and I actually left out the slide, but for me, what I really wanted was the ability to move front to back, to be able to roll my hips and pelvis in a Z-axis. When I demonstrate this without a chair, my teenage daughter gets very uncomfortable. But, you know, so what I find is I like to sort of load the bungees with my mass and then let the resistance pull me back. So the Core 360 is kind of, basically it's a universal joint. So you can toggle around that central axis, but your range of motion is limited to that. Also, because it's a ball, there's harmonic resonance to it. So you're bouncing, you're moving. And really, when I envisioned it, I wanted to be able to roll and not be fixed in a plane. So the Core 360 and really every other active sitting chair, you're still stuck around that one fulcrum point. Okay, but like I said, sitting is believing. Thank you.
So, as a reminder, the winner gets a $500 check that I'll write. The winner gets the Holstein Harley Bear and an entrance to the final event in October with a chance to win a $5,000 prize. And I got one other announcement, which is, hey, riders, stick around afterwards because it's raining, and we'll just go over the instructions, because I know some people are confused, as usual, about where we're going and what we're doing. So we'll get that figured out. So the winner, and we've never had this happen before, is the Sprong chair, which means we have 2 chair companies that are competitive.